नमस्कार। पानी के बाद कौशल विकास, ठीक है, बढ़िया है। कनेक्ट, पानी भी बुनियादी आवश्यकता है, बेसिक रिक्वायरमेंट एक इंसान के लिए। और स्किल डेवलपमेंट की मैं बात करता हूं तो दैट्स आल्सो वन ऑफ द बेसिक रिक्वायरमेंट फॉर आवर कंट्री। सो गुड कनेक्ट। India being the fifth largest economy with 3.5 trillion USD economy, the youngest country, more than 65% of our population is 35 plus. और यदि हम युवाओं की बात करते हैं तो इस बातचीत के क्रम में कौशल विकास, दिस इज अ natural discussion. This has to be the part of it. Without the skill development of the youth, the nation cannot progress. 1 out of 5 people in India are skilled. Rather, 4 out of 5 are unskilled, I'd say. This is one of the statistics of 2022. 25% of the total population is illiterate, yet illiterate. ठीक है। हालांकि बीपीएल जो बिलो पॉवर्टी लाइन, गरीबी रेखा के नीचे की हम बात करते हैं, दैट डेटा इज ड्रामेटिकली हैज come down to less than 5%, somewhere between 3.5 to 4.5. Some of the agencies are claiming in between. On the other hand, India ranks 111 out of 125 countries in global poverty index. ये 2023 का आंकड़ा कहता है, तो थोड़ा सा कॉन्ट्राडिक्टरी लग रहा है, गैप है कहीं ना कुछ इश्यूज हैं। बिलो पॉवर्टी लाइन 5% दिख रहा है और रैंक हमारा 111 अभी भी है। 111 बढ़िया नहीं है, एक रैंक होता तो बेस्ट होता। Let's talk about the budget part of it. The government of India budget on education and employment and skilling is close to 1,50,000 करोड़। ये मैं 2023-24 फाइनेंशियल ईयर की बात करता हूँ। और CSR के स्पेंडिंग की यदि मैं बात करूँ तो CSR की स्पेंडिंग लगभग 1/4, the quarter of the budget every year. In the morning session, Dr. Bhaskar Chatterjee was talking about 18,000 companies and the spending is going to close to 30,000 crores. So you can assume somewhere like 25% of it, which is coming around 8,000 crore rupees in a year for skilling and education in India. So we, with a panel here, are going to talk on skill development, livelihood promotions. We try to understand this topic कि ये स्किल डेवलपमेंट की आवश्यकता क्यों है, वाई दिस इज नीडेड, कहाँ पे जरूरत है इसकी, किसे जरूरत है, क्यों जरूरत है। आप इस स्किल डेवलपमेंट के पूरे एक साइकिल को देखते हैं तो पहले इंसान के साइकिल को देखिए। एक व्यक्ति आपके कार के पास आता है, एक ट्रैफिक सिग्नल पे आपकी खिड़की को खटखटाता है और कहता है कि पैसे की जरूरत है, पैसे दीजिए। लिटरली द पर्सन इज बेगिंग। आप उससे कहते हो भाई पैसे क्यों मांग रहा है, काम क्यों नहीं करता? वो कहता काम करना नहीं आता। आपने पूछा काम क्यों नहीं आता करना? उसने कहा कि काम सीखा नहीं। काम क्यों नहीं सीखा? जी हम पढ़े लिखे नहीं थे। पढ़े लिखे क्यों नहीं? क्योंकि कोई पढ़ाने वाला नहीं था। कोई पढ़ाने वाला क्यों नहीं था? क्योंकि जी हमारे पास पैसा नहीं था। पैसा क्यों नहीं है? क्योंकि हम काम नहीं करते। तो ये गोल सा एक विशियस साइकिल बन जाता है। तो हमें उस साइकिल को तोड़ना है, कहीं ना कहीं तोड़ना पड़ेगा। या तो वो आदमी भूखा है तो उसे खाना दे दीजिए, इज दैट अ सॉल्यूशन? नो, दैट्स नॉट अ प्रैक्टिकल सॉल्यूशन। एजुकेशन दीजिए, फाउंडेशन क्रिएट कीजिए, उसके बाद स्किल डेवलपमेंट कीजिए, एवेन्यूज क्रिएट कीजिए, उसके बाद उनको मेन स्ट्रीम कर सकते हैं, मुख्य धारा से जोड़ सकते हैं। सो विल ट्राई टॉकिंग अबाउट ऑल सच सॉल्यूशंस हियर। I'm very happy that we have an esteemed panel here, a large panel rather. Oh wow, Priya. We come from the same college. So yeah, and I have to manage it within the time limit. So I'll start straight away as per the instructions of the organizers with Professor Vignesh, who comes from IIT Madras. Professor, mic for you. आपके लिए मेरा सवाल ये है कि जब हम स्किल डेवलपमेंट की बात करते हैं तो एकेडमिया का एक खास रोल होता है। व्हाट डू यू थिंक कुड बी द रोल ऑफ एकेडमिया फॉर स्किल डेवलपमेंट? specifically for country like India. हम इंडियन कंटेक्स्ट में कोशिश करेंगे बात करने की ज़्यादातर, ठीक है? ओवर टू यू, और आपके पास लगभग 4-4.5 मिनट होगा.
Thank you. Skill development is a very critical part when it comes to improving employability, making sure that the quality of life of people improves, right? So that needs to start from the academia. It cannot be completely dependent on people outside. One of the challenges which has plagued academia is we tend to focus a lot more on the theory and the fundamentals, while the skills, there is some focus on it. However, that's not the main focus of many of the academic programs. So I think it's important that we find a right balance. So obviously, we cannot become a completely technical training only kind of an institution either. But at the same time, there has to be a right balance which provides the skills along with the theory behind it. So that is a conscious decision which academicians need to make. And I think in the current scenario, there is a lot of flexibility for the institutions to incorporate many skill-based courses. Even the governing and regulatory bodies have enabled that. So IIT Madras has been in the forefront of doing such things. So I want to specifically talk about some of the initiatives that we have been doing, which I believe focuses primarily on building skills. And I also want to give a couple of examples of how it has impacted. So IIT Madras, I'm associated with the Center for Outreach and Digital Education. So we have been coordinating multiple programs which focus on continued learning and training of people who are in the workforce, and also providing skill-based education for people or for students in schools and colleges. So the idea which we focus on is to give hands-on training throughout their learning experience. So NPTEL is a Government of India funded project which has been running for more than 20 years. So this has been coordinated by IIT Madras, and all IITs are part of it. So what initially started as just recording of courses which are taught at IITs for people to consume, then has now grown into a certification program, where more than this time, actually every semester we have these certification courses, and more than 9 lakh students appear for exams every year, and more than 30 lakh students actually enroll for courses through NPTEL every semester. So it's actually close to 17-18 lakh students who get to apply for this, who appear for the certification exams. So which is a phenomenal number, because this has been enabled by the policy of credit transfer into the programs. So what has happened because of this is, this gives a lot of opportunity for students to get high quality education. But instead of just leaving it at education, what we have done from NPTEL is, the students who are toppers in these certifications get to come to IITs and do internships for summer. So during that time, they get a lot of hands-on training, and the students who are doing well there are also now given an opportunity to do a year-long pre-doctoral fellowship or a post-baccalaureate fellowship at IITs and IISc, through which they get proper training in both technical skills and in research skills. So this provides a lot of value for the learners. So another program which we run is the BS program, BS in Data Sciences and Applications. So this program actually is designed very uniquely. What we have done in this program is, instead of starting with the basic theory and then having only project at the end, we have now designed a curriculum where basic introductory concepts are covered in the initial phases, and we immediately focus on the skills. There is a lot of projects, hands-on training, and so on. And then we continue into the theory concepts at a higher stage. So what this enables is, students who are even in the middle of the program, right, at the middle level of the program, which we call as the diploma level, so they are able to find employment. And this really creates a lot of value for people who are struggling to make ends meet. So I just want to give one example. So we have an event at IIT Madras where we invite all the students in this program. So this is actually a very large scale program where there are more than 30,000 students enrolled and it has multiple exit opportunities as well. So one of the students who is pursuing this program, who came for this event, met us and was very happy, saying that, sir, within the first year and a half of training I received, I have now been able to set up my own small startup, and I have actually earned 3 times the amount I have actually spent on this degree program. So this gives a phenomenal opportunity for people to transform lives, rather than just focus on the theory and then you have to complete the 4 years or 3 years of education before you even start looking at employment. So flipping that model really helps when it comes to addressing this skill gap. So
Wonderful.
this is something which we are trying to do, and I think most academic institutions can do this, especially with the NEP enabling these multiple entry, multiple exit opportunities. Academia can lead the way in achieving this skill training to start with.
So 2 quick questions. आपको ऐसा लग रहा है that the practical aspects which has to be integrated in theory that is happening in academia today?
So
if yes, then why and how? Quick, 30 seconds.
So practical aspects are happening. However, it's very difficult for academia to keep changing and updating what is currently needed by the industry. So that is where the lack is. It is not that there is no effort in making practical aspects as part of the theory.
एक scale देता हूँ मैं आपको 1 से लेके 5 में, 1 being the best, 5 चलो 1 being the least and 5 being the best. Industry के requirement के हिसाब से कितनी customized है हमारी training?
So see, customizing for industry training is really difficult. What we can do in academia is help the students learn so that they have the ability to pick up the skills as they go along.
Do you want to scale it, sir?
Within the scale, I would say, see, if you are going to say exactly designed for an industry, that's probably going to be lower, maybe around 2. But if you're saying, if the question is, are we training them so that they can pick up the skills in an industry? At a place like an IIT, yes, but there is definitely going to be gradation depending on the institution, the opportunities which are provided there.
Got it, sir. Got it. Thank you very much. Wonderful. काफी बढ़िया impact है IIT Madras का. The strategy, the thought process is very nice. I have to go to Ameet Rele ji, who is the head of communication CSR from Nuvoco. Did I pronounce it right? Yeah. Sir, I have a question for you. What is the importance of upskilling? You can take a reference of your program for the master training, and the program is also, I read it in the website, this is NSDC certified. Professor Saab was talking about the importance of certification. Over to you. Request to restrict within 3 to 4 minutes.
So thank you. जहाँ हमने शुरुआत की थी मैं वही जाना चाहूँगा. The 3 aspects हम बोल रहे हैं लोगों के, रोटी, कपड़ा और मकान. तो हम जहाँ से आते हैं वो है मकान. And that's what we try to impact in a larger way. So what we are trying to do is, most important piece of the puzzle here is India, we have all heard, is a growing economy. Day by day infrastructure का जो हमारा relevance है वो बढ़ता जा रहा है. अगर आप डेटा और स्टैटिस्टिक्स का NSDC पे ही देखें तो रफली 3.5 to 4 million masons है, और masons है ये बेस है कोई भी कंस्ट्रक्शन एक्टिविटी को करने का. और मेसनरी का कोई वैलिड क्वालिफिकेशन है नहीं. जो जहाँ से शुरुआत करता है वहीं से आगे बढ़ता है. So looking this into mind, looking at what we are supposed to do, we had started a program which is called Newer Masons, where we are upskilling the current masons under the NSDC guidelines. अभी इसकी ज़रूरत क्यों है? इसकी ज़रूरत इसलिए है क्योंकि आज जहाँ पे भी masons का काम हो रहा है उसका ना इंफॉर्मेशन मेसन्स को होता है ना उसका कोई आधार है. जो सारा इंफॉर्मेशन चलता है वो ग्रेपवाइन से चलता है. दूसरा, इन लोग का जो स्किल है वो आप कैसे वैलिडेट करोगे? तो ये स्किल वैलिडेशन के लिए ज़रूरी है किसी गवर्नमेंट इंस्टीट्यूशन और ट्रेनिंग के साथ पार्टनर करके इनका स्किल वैलिडेट करना. तीसरी बात, ये कभी अपना सीवी तो कैरी नहीं करेंगे, बताएंगे नहीं, तो अपने स्किल के बारे में कैसे बताएंगे? तो इसके लिए इनको एक QR कोड दिया गया है, टेक्नोलॉजी की मदद ली गई है, जिस QR कोड के स्कैनिंग से अगर वो अपने आप को प्रूव कर पाएंगे और किसी भी मनरेगा या किसी भी प्रोग्राम में वो इजीली बता पाएंगे कि ये लेवल है उनके स्किल का और वो आगे इसमें बढ़ पाएंगे. तो इट्स नॉट ओनली अबाउट अपस्किलिंग, इट इज अबाउट गिविंग देम अपॉर्चुनिटीज, इट इज यूजिंग द राइट टेक्नोलॉजी, and it is also laying a foundation for the next business that they want to grow. I would just take the point that you asked him about, Professor, about what is the role of academia and are we into the area where, are we updated on the course content? I firmly believe as an organizations and as CSR, leads of various, this responsibility lies on us because we are working on the innovation side of the business. And if we are working on innovation side, we have to partner with academicians to help to generate content that is easily absorbable to various classes of the society. That's what they can do.
ग्रामीण भारत में आप जाएंगे तो मैशन को राज मिस्त्री कहते हैं.
Yes.
Raj Mistri, look at this terminology. But if you look at the deprivation with them, you talked about the certification, the technology and everything. Do you think that is reaching to the rural missions in India? How do you look at it?
So I think first is going into the areas and doing an assessment with existing masons. I think a lot of existing masons have an issue saying that हमको आगे काम बढ़ा नहीं जा रहा है या हमको आगे ज़्यादा काम दिया नहीं जा रहा है. क्यों नहीं दिया जा रहा है? क्योंकि हम पे भरोसा नहीं है हम ये काम कर सकते हैं. So the certification is basically a भरोसे का ठिप्पा on them, saying that this is what they are trying to do ahead in life and this is how they can progress. And this is, so basically the existing masons come, they talk and they are our word of mouth to the new generation of masons who possibly would like to join us into our program, because your success has to speak, the success of the program has to speak for themselves. और ये सब होने के बाद भी on a lighter note, when they come back to us after the program, when their quality of life improves, they come back to us. और फिर भी बोलते हैं कि सर एक छोटी सी शिकायत है हमारी. बोलते हैं क्या हुआ? बोलते हैं सर घर जाएंगे तो बीवी डांटती है, बोलती है पूरे के पूरे काले लग रहे हो. So उसके लिए भी जवाब है ट्रेनिंग इनटू अदर काइंड ऑफ कैटेगरीज व्हिच इज कॉन्क्रीट, जिससे आप काले नहीं बनेंगे. पर आइडिया इज टू गेट इनटू मोर टेक्नोलॉजी बिकॉज कॉन्क्रीटाइजेशन इज अ बेटर वर्ड ऑफ सीमेंट एंड अदर थिंग्स दैट वी आर डूइंग. लॉट ऑफ अदर थिंग्स टू डू, लॉट ऑफ प्रोग्रेस इन दिस डायरेक्शन.
चलिए, काला है फिर भी बेहतर है, क्या दिक्कत है? मुझे ऐसा लगता है. But yes,
आपको लगता है, बीवी को नहीं लगता है उसके.
No comments on that. I'm scared commenting on this once. Right. I'm focusing right to this panel here. Arun, Nalavadi ji, sir, we've been connected to each other, I guess, 10 years?
Yeah, 10, 12 years now.
10, 12 years. Sir is an ED to Magic Bus. And I request you to talk about your 21st century skills. आपको कैसा लगता है कि इसकी क्या आवश्यकता है? Why these 21st century skills are required in today's scenario of skill development offerings in country like India?
Yeah, let me just take this opportunity to, I work with Magic Bus. Decode this whole thing called 21st century skills. I'm sure all of us have read about it. There are lots of articles. Where does it find the place in, skilling young people and transiting them to jobs and ensure that they are sustainable? First of all, I think we are a very large practitioners about this. We currently, we are a non-profit. So we skill and place 250,000 young people through this model called 21st century transferable life and employment skill model and transit them to job. 50% of them are girls. So there is a more than 4 to 5 lakhs young people are today working in service sector because they got skilled in this particular model. And there is a lot of empirical evidence that this helps these young people not to just transit into jobs, but sustain and embed in jobs. So this is very critical because just transiting to jobs is not something which is correct. The transiting to jobs is just not enough. What does this actually mean? It means that as per the ILO framework, there are 3 or 4 blocks, what we call as 21st century skills. First of all, they are not soft skills. They are very core and essential skills to embed a young person in jobs and ensure that he moves up the ladder. So number 1 is what we call as socio-emotional skills. The number 2 is pillar in that is called cognitive and metacognitive skills. Then the third one is what we call as employability skills or work readiness skills. Just a quick example, because I have just 4.5 minutes to decode this. Yeah, 3 minutes now. On the socio-emotional skills, it's all about self and how do you manage self. How do you how do you form relationships? How do you ensure that you use empathy to build a very collaborative platform? Because workplace is all about collaborative platform. When you come to cognitive and metacognitive, it's all about your learning agility. How do you become a lifelong learner? How do you have that appetite to say that I have to keep learning to be very relevant to myself? How do you manage conflicts? How do you work in a gender mixed environment? I know the list goes on and on. And on the work readiness, it's basically green skills. How do you work within the green environment? How do you have your basic digital skills? It's no more literacy now. It is much more than literacy. With AI tools coming in, people have to adapt to use AI tools. Then you have financial literacy. And then you have strong other tools of what you call as basic communicative English. And there are lots of these things. But what I want to emphasize to the audience is that when you look at these 21st century skills and when you want to train young people, and I will just tell you how we do this, we do it in context to a number of job roles. You select certain job roles in certain sectors, and then you get them to, through a application and participation mode, get them to understand in those job roles how these skills matter. And that is the way you build these skills as a part of a DNA in the young people. And then what happens, there are two models in which you can skill and transit a young people. One is domain skilling or vocational skilling, which obviously we all do. And then hope that, these whole 21st century skill, the young person learns on the job. The other model is to say that, you skill young people with these 21st century skills and then sort of ensure that when they go on the job, they learn about the product. Both are good. There is no plus or minus against each other. All I'm saying is we have an empirical evidence to do this at a large scale, and all this money which we get to do this is from CSR donors. We have more than 80 corporate donors who support us to build the scales. And what is very nice is today in the world where we have credits for all short-term courses, which is what the latest education policy talks about. Just about a month ago, we have got the QP code, which allows young people who take our course to get credits and the certificate from the sector council, which essentially means that today, as we look at, there are two models of skilling. Vocational skilling, of course, there are many, many trades out there. And second is based on what we've done and what approvals we've got from the QP code from the Government of India, is the another one which we call as transferable life and adaptability skills based on 21st century skills, which is again an ILO framework. So obviously these are two models. One can choose one against the other, but this works quite well. And I must tell you, I have another 1 minute. We are a part of Skill India Bond. I'm sure all of you are a part of this sector, know that one of the premier blended finance bond which has been floated to get through alternative models of skilling, because NSDC, Government of India wants more efficiency in the money which they spend, 140,000 crores. Of course, there's education and skilling. The Skill India Bond is one where it's floated by BAT. So there are two vocational skilling partners, and there's one of we are there. And 50% of this bond is subscribed by NSDC, which is subscribed by Government of India. And I think we are undoubtedly number one. So that is where, that's the decoding of 21st century skills. But what I want to emphasize before I end is, this is not soft skills. This is the core to actually transit young people into jobs. And what it essentially means is when you have these skills, you are able to process the knowledge which you gain on the ground and translate that into how you perform and how you execute your jobs.
Wonderful.
And that's what it is. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Thank you, sir. Do you think that the AI integrated skills can replace humans?
Well, I think lots
30
have been
seconds.
talked about it. These are two very early days. You open the newspaper, there is one end of commentary which says that, many jobs are going to be lost. There's another end of spectrum where people says no jobs are going to be lost as long as everybody upgrades themselves. And I am an optimist. I feel that these are productivity tools. And when you use these tools, you just improve your efficacy. And what used to take X amount of time, you use these to, produce better results. Now, for that, you need to then have people who have to survive in this environment where AI is coming and not become a victim of that. You should be able to adapt. You should be able to, upskill yourself, and you should then be a continuous learner. All this.
Panchayat पहुंचेगा नहीं है?
I think you'll be surprised that a lot of people in tier 3, 4, 5 cities today are adapting much better than the metro cities. And if you see any of those larger IITs or any other, you see a lot of people transiting from there. And we do work in 36 cities, and we are surprised by the agility and the appetite these young people show.
So this has to be a rural solution rather.
Yeah, it has to be both urban and rural, because India is, and I think by 2047, I think by another 10 years, the boundaries between rural and urban will diminish because economies will become more fused. So I think we should all here say that we should be optimistic about all technologies. Technology has never taken away the job; they have just enhanced it. But I guess that you need to, and this is again this is again where 21st century skills comes in. Your adaptability, your ability to learn, the hunger for continuous learning. These are all 21st century skills. If you are able to do that, all young people will thrive. And if you are not, then you will get into underemployment. Thank you.
बहुत बढ़िया sir. I think quite meaningful. And you talked about upgradations, adaptabilities, QPs, digital skills, green skills. चलिए मैं summarize भी करूँगा, but let me go to Tejas Bagri ji. Tejas ji, all right. If you can please pass on the mic to Tejas ji. Tejas ji is coming from MSU, and you are the chief of staff.
Yes.
Right. So if you can talk about the bridging the gap between education, skilling, and industry, the demand and the supply thing. How do you look at the demand of the industry, and how is the supply from academia, from the skill development side, from the education side? 4 minutes.
So I'd actually like to pick up from where Professor Vignesh and you left. Essentially, you in your opening statement stated that there's a sort of a gap with respect to data in where India is coming in the employment or the poverty index, the global poverty index for that matter. But if you look at India specific data, you realize that there are only 4 to 5% people below the poverty line. But you also mentioned that there is at least 1 in 5 people who's not literate. And this is exactly the story that Ameet ji told, right? That there are people who are working, but they don't have a clue of what they are going to do in the future because their learnings and their skills are not recognized in India. And that is why transitioning from one particular location to another becomes extremely difficult. And that's the reason why people are stuck in low paying jobs. And that is why when compared to the world, India is very low when you rank it with respect to better livelihood, because people are stuck in mundane low paying jobs since they can't progress in their careers. Now this is where industry academia integration comes into picture. Professor Vignesh stated that it's sort of an unsolvable problem that you can't keep updating your curriculums with respect to universities or with respect to the education that is being provided in India at this point in time, in terms of what is the requirement of the industry. But Medhavi Skills University is actually solving this unsolvable problem. What we are doing is we are specifically seeing requirements in terms of three aspects in terms of knowledge required, in terms of skills required, in terms of tools, both technical and non-technical, that people need to be learning with respect to being productive in a specific job role. We are backmapping that requirement and updating our curriculum every year in each and every course that we are providing. And the only way to go ahead and implement that is through the AEDP model, the Apprenticeship Embedded Degree Program model, that is entitled in the National Education Policy 2020 guidelines. Now, let me just give a 30-second brief on that. So the National Education Policy is being operationalized through the National Credit Framework. This National Credit Framework is what integrates the National Higher Education Qualification Framework and the National Skills Qualification Framework. Case in point, the Masonry Qualification Pact that Ameet was talking about comes under the National Skills Qualification Framework, and everything that is UGC recognized in nature comes under the National Higher Education Qualification Framework. So with respect to that, what we are doing is that as a skills university, we are having 60 to 70% of the curriculum of each and every course to be skills oriented in nature. That is, either it has a practical component or it has an experiential component, both of which is getting combined to a 70% of the curriculum. And the theory is actually supporting that. The theory is giving the base for that practical learning. As Professor Vignesh stated that the theory has to back it, that's exactly what we are doing. And how are we doing that? We're doing that in collaboration with multiple industry partners. Case in point, you must be knowing Belgavi. It's a very small city in, it's not even a city, it's a very small district in Karnataka. There you have a special economic zone. There ACUS is an aircraft manufacturing and aircraft-oriented parts manufacturing company, which is working for Boeing, Airbus, and all of those sorts. So we have launched the first of its kind BVOC in aircraft manufacturing and an MVOC in aircraft manufacturing course in Belgavi itself, where over 200 students are studying at this point in time, working in the special economic zone itself. And like this, we've partnered with multiple training partners. Medhavi Skills University is the anchor university of the NSTC, the National Skill Development Corporation. And after 2020, we are the only skills university to get awarded the awarding body status by the NCVET. That basically means that whatever certifications, skill qualifications that any training partner of NSTC wants to run, or any industry institute, even foundation for that matter, wants to run, can get it approved through us. It doesn't need to have some special approvals through the government per se. We will help with respect to the development of qualification packs. We will go to the NCVET. We will get this approved and certified, since we are an awarding body of the NCVET.
Very nice. But how do you look at the government ITIs? There are close to 1500 ITIs here. And if you look for the curriculum upgradation out there, that's a lamba process. I mean, students pass out ho jate hain, and the requirement that we have in the industry, the course is obsolete. The machineries kept out there are obsolete. Do you find a solution? 30 seconds.
Right. So I would just take a little more time than 30 seconds because I want to talk about the government budget over here. So the government budget with respect to higher education with respect to education increased by 7% this year, but with respect to higher education decreased by 17%. Now, this is where corporate social responsibility comes into picture, right? And CSR partnerships come into picture, because the government has announced something very, very specific, that you as corporate entities can take interns and give them 5,000 rupees stipend and 6,000 rupees one-time payment, and you can show that in your CSR spending. That was not possible before. And this can be done for over 1 crore youth in India. Now, why I'm mentioning this is because I understand that, you know, the current ITI system in India is not that developed, and there's no immediate solution to it. It is a long drawn process, as you stated. But if we start implementing the other facets of government that they have given us with respect to the leeway in terms of CSR spending and collaborations that are possible with, you say, universities like Medhavi Skills University or foundations like Magic Bus for that matter, then I believe slowly, while that problem is getting solved, the solution required for the country will be given regardless of how much budget or how much spending the government is doing. So I think that is an important thing that we can take note of.
I wish I would have more time to talk about, but yeah, makes sense. I'm sitting next to a rich lady, Garima Dutt, President, Yes Bank, CEO Yes Foundation, and a very old friend to me. I'm not calling you old at all. Yeah. I keep learning from the works that you've been doing. Your thoughts on market-oriented jobs. I also read about the 25,000 youth that you are planned to train by year 2026, if I'm right. So how are you plan to achieve that vision of reaching to 25,000 youth with an orientation of jobs to them?
So thanks. I'll start by saying that we work in livelihoods, and a large part of our livelihoods is based in rural areas as well. When we talk about rural livelihoods, we are mainly looking at income enhancement, and we focus on farmers, we focus on women, and we focus on artisans. But here, and the target that you spoke about is more urban youth, so underprivileged urban youth, looking at how can we have market-oriented skills training and get them in placements, right? So when I talk about this, I will talk about also about the challenges, because if everything was hunky-dory, I think with the numbers that this panel itself is training, what skilling ho gaya hota, right? So I think market-oriented jobs, a lot of questions are being talked about, and I agree with one of the panel members who said that it is quite a lot of innovation that is required when you say that, okay, what to map, what kind of jobs are available, and then customize your skilling to it. It's not an easy job at all, right? Because a lot of times there are already bodies that are existing, there are courses that are available, the number of hours that these courses will run for are also mandated, and you have to work within that framework. So what we really do is that if you're running an IT course and there is a IT thing, we get industry experts from Capgemini to review the course and then input on it, right? If it's a BFSI course, then not just Yes Bank, also SBI and Access will do, right? Because the whole idea is that wherever jobs are and whatever requirements are there, and rightly said, the way industry moves and the way tech moves, there is a requirement for constantly updating the course curriculum, right? It may not happen from a very traditional lens, but it can definitely, you can leverage volunteers, you can leverage SMEs from industries. So there are ways around making a course curriculum market oriented. And we talk about market orientation. I completely agree with Arun and some of the other speakers also, that it's not just about soft skills, but it is about very relevant 21st century skills. A lot of times these people take up jobs, and when you are doing, and here comes my challenge, and when you are doing follow up on whether they are still in jobs, there is a huge dropout that happens, right? Yes. A lot of times it is, मेरे manager ने गंदे से बात किया, target का बहुत pressure है, मुझे sales नहीं करना था. But the whole idea is to tackle this when they are with you and when there is when you have audience with them. I think everybody here will agree that 1 year down the line, you can barely reach 20-25% maximum, right? To actually follow up कि आप अभी भी job में हैं कि नहीं हैं, right? So I think these are challenges. Skilling के लिए भी mobilization is a huge challenge. A lot of times we see at the end of the course, people are not taking up jobs, and when you ask them, अब मेरा दोस्त join कर रहा था, मैंने कर लिया, यहाँ computers भी सिखा रहे थे, soft skills में तो मैंने कर लिया, मुझे लगा English अच्छे से बोलने के मिलेगा, मैंने कर लिया. But the whole idea is that end requirement is not to get a job, right? Another challenge is attribution. So you may run an IT course or a retail course and they may get placed somewhere else only, right? So is it really attributed to your course? Maybe soft skills, yes, you can blindly say that, confidence level increased, like Arun said, problem solving skills or conflict resolution, these are the skills that you were able to impart. But if you were skilling in a particular domain and they get placed in some other domain, then is it really attributable? Yeah. So I think these challenges are there. It requires, personally, I also feel that duration of course is a big question mark, right? You're also, it is difficult to spread yourself too thin and start saying that we will start working with primary and quality of education and then, really look at, employable skills. Because then as a corporate, you're spreading yourself too thin if you're doing everything. But here also, the pipeline that is created and is coming to you, I think that is also one will have to look at it. So, thank you.
I think quite practical. And yes, this is what is happening today. The difficulty of the challenges that you have reflected about skill development. Some roles to be played. Maybe do you think that civil society India can play some role in that, bridging that, or maybe redressal of those challenges? Uh, can they be effective, or maybe with connecting it with the government programs directly, and then like a corporate and then civil society, a combination of three of them? Do you look at some solutions like this?
So I look at it. I think PPP models in most cases work really well, right? But in my experience, when it comes to placements, I think it has to be industry driven, right? You have to first map. If I'm talking about retail skills, I'm not just mapping, the shop stop and the landmark that have this mechanism where they can centrally say that, okay, in this particular location, so many openings are coming, in this location, so many openings are coming, but also local kirana shops and local retail shops, right? So that requires a lot of on-ground presence, which definitely the civil society can only bring.
Thank you. Himanshu Priyadarshi is the Chief of Communication Sustainability at Coca-Cola. Hindustan Coca-Cola, right. Need assessment for skill, collaboration in skill development. These are the two heads which I'd like to give you to comment on. नीड असेसमेंट थोड़ा सा आपने भी टच किया गरिमा, और बाकी कुछ पैनलिस्ट ने भी बात की है, but collaboration majorly, if you'd like to focus on that. Yeah.
Thank you, and thank you to the audience for listening us and listening me. So I would say, what I would say is that first of all, if we say that how do we identify the skill gap, then in understanding the skill gap, I would use the last prefix of the words gaps to reframe it in a different way. First thing is about the global data, whatever is available, pan-India as well as in the world. Like I was going through the McKinsey Global Institute Framework, or OECD, or you would say like UNICEF Global Framework of Transferable Skills, which talks about, and they have done extensive study, and they have analyzed approximately 2,000 work, and among them they prioritize 20 core skills which are important for the world in 2030. The three are technological, social and emotional, and the third is the higher level of cognitive skills. So first of all, to understand this global aspect, because how the world is evolving. I remember in my case, I did environmental engineering in 2003. And now, at that moment of time, environment was not the buzzword in the global landscape. But now we are talking about sustainability, we are talking about decarbonization, we are talking about water management and all other environmental related terminologies. The second I would say is analyze those data points and then how to assimilate it locally in terms of development the global as well as the local infrastructure, the local ecosystem where we are operating. Like for example, we have so many manufacturing plants. So our own identification is the local landscape, those cities, those geographies where we are operating. The third thing, what we talked about is the P, which is the partnership. How do you partner well with the academic institutions, with the government, as well as the other machinery to make it more sustainable and more long term instead of having a short term impact. And that's what we as an organization also did when we partnered with Gujarat. They have a skill university which is like Kaushalya. In Tamil Nadu, we have Nan-Udvam scheme, which is again like skill development. In Andhra Pradesh, they have come out with the Skill Development Corporation. So we have partnered with them for training 25,000 youth. Last year, we have trained 25,000 youth into sales and marketing. And why we did that? Because when we went to the field and when we analyzed the whole data points, what we felt that retail management is available in all these skill curricula. But when we talk about the sales and marketing, which is like purely employment based, where because people who are doing their undergrad and graduation, they are not aware about the customer relationship management. They They're not aware about the negotiation skills, the 4 Ps of a product manager, the marketing or the sales management, the negotiation skills, the resume builder, and a lot of other things, the cognitive skills. So we have uniquely developed a 45 hours sales and marketing curriculum, and we partner with the NGOs, we partner with the government, and we have rolled out to multiple engineering colleges, multiple colleges which are prevalent in those geographies where they feel that there is a gap, and what helps them is that when they have an endorsement by Hindustan Coca-Cola Beverages, a certification program along with the government, whomsoever they are reaching out to the FMCG players, they are getting an edge because for them, now the world is talking about the gig economy. So people want ready-made talent all across, So that helps them having employment generation. So that is all about. And the last S is, I would say, strategic execution, what we are doing. So this is all about the gaps and the collaboration, what we are doing. Thank you.
बहुत बढ़िया समराइज कर दिया आपने. आई थिंक पूरे इकोसिस्टम को यू हैव ब्रीफ्ड इट pretty well. My last co-panelist, Priya. Priya is an Assistant Vice President and Head CSR at Fusion. Priya, आपके लिए एक मुश्किल सवाल है, और सवाल है कि ये स्किल डेवलपमेंट के प्रोग्राम्स को रेप्लिकेट कैसे करें. हर कोई अपने अपने व्हील्स को इन्वेंट करने में लगा हुआ है, और एग्जिट प्लान क्या होगा कॉर्पोरेट के लिए, बाहर कैसे निकलेंगे.
Sure, thank you so much. So, what I learned and whatever the experience I have during my professional journey, so what I have observed that there are two aspects, that is a replica and exit plan. Both should be part of the program designing. हम क्या करते हैं कि हम प्रोग्राम डिज़ाइन करते हैं पायलट के लिए, एंड वी फॉरगेट टू डिज़ाइन द स्केलेबिलिटी एंड एग्जिट प्लान. सो बट वी शुड part of that in our designing program. So first of all, I'd like to share you a few points which I always apply in my programs wherever I have worked. So for the replica of the skill development program, we always follow that we need to focus before scaling the program. We should address all the challenges and create a replicable framework that can be applied throughout across the region. The second is that everybody is talking about the standard model and scalable model. So that can be customized as per the local needs while maintaining the consistency and the quality of the programs. And third, about most of the panelists is talking about the 4P approach. We should do the research. Like we should understand the interest of the industries. We should understand about the program which is currently running in the field. We should align our program with the governments. We cannot do something parallel programs implementations. And of course, the local stakeholders. They are the key player. We need to do the capacity building of those local stakeholders for sustainability and scalability of the program. And the most important part is that we don't forget about the integration of the technology. We should add all the technology whichever is important for the skill development program. So these are the things which I think that is important aspect for the rational, replicable and the scalability and sustainability of the program. For the exit plan, what I thought that we should do some kind of research for the sustainable funding pool. We need to focus towards each stakeholders, like what everybody is saying about the industry's interest, everybody is saying about the academics, curriculum. We need to focus all the parameters so that our plan should be sustainable. And the second is that the corporate responsibility is monitoring and tracking the program during but I'll suggest that please remotely you can track the program and you can address if any kind of the challenges they are facing post exit, then you can support them. And third is then create the alumni group, create the mentor on that particular area so that we will be able to help them. So I think so these are the points which we can consider during the program designing and scalability and exit plan, so that it will help us definitely during and after the replication also. Thank you so much for that.
Thanks Priya. कॉलेज के दिनों की याद आ गई मुझे, आपने जिस तरीके से बताया इस पूरे रिसर्च डिज़ाइन को प्रोग्राम डिज़ाइन बनाने के लिए. But yes, certainly the NGOs, the panchayat, the local stakeholders, the alumni that you talked about, they all do make difference. तो मुझे चेतावनी आ गई है कि मुझे इस पैनल को यहाँ रोकना पड़ेगा, और रोकने से पहले I'll take some 2 minutes, और मैं शुरुआत आपसे करूँगा सर। एक शब्द में, just in one word probably, if you can propose some solution for skill development, think about it, I'll come back to you. And this is how the mic will roll up to you, right? Before I'm summarizing the discussion with some of the keywords, the practical training, we talked about the skill gap identification, research, which is important, recognition to the skills, skill validation, certifications and assessments we talked about, which play critical role. The local ecosystem has a pivotal role to play. Technology, tools, infrastructure, that too in rural context majorly. It has to reach to their green skills, digital skills, AI skills. We talked about 21st century skills, which is the need of the hour, upgradation of the skill, the course which has to be customized as per the requirement of the industry, adaptability of various stakeholders. I would not say one of them, but all the stakeholders rather. PPP doesn't exist only for public-private partnership, but this is also for panchayat private partnership and private-private partnership. What a couple of our friends have talked about, integration with the government program, replication, sustainability by engaging all the stakeholders of the program, a proper exit plan when you are designing it, of course, and roles of each of the stakeholders. So that's the summary of this panel. If you can please pass on the mic, maybe one or couple of words you can take. What is the solution?
Large scale, high quality training on relevant skills. This needs to be done by leading institutions in partnership with industries and government.
Thank you. Please pass on.
It should be transferable and transformational in one's life.
Wow, wonderful.
So collaborative and partnership.
Collaborative and partnership.
Scale through collaborative partnership, strong processes, and including them in the design thinking.
Wonderful. Please pass on, sir.
I think it should be indigenous and acceptable to people.
Thank you.
Also, that's strategic partnership. Do the partnership, but strategically.
All right, the last man.
I believe industry academia integration with outcome-based learning.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you very much. Do we have time for taking questions? All right, one. Okay, two gentlemen. Okay, quick questions. If you can, somebody pass on the mic, please. You can take a mic from here. Tarana, can you volunteer? Yeah, sorry, great. Two gentlemen out there, after him, to you. Anybody else? Sir, quick question with your intro.
Hello, I am Dr. Khare from BITS Pilani, alumni from there, and we are running a very small NGO with my colleagues. तो मेरा सबसे बेसिक क्वेश्चन ये है, ग्रास रूट एनजीओ के लिए रेप्लिकेबल की बात हो रही है, ट्रांसफर की बात हो रही है, तो हमको किसी से फंड्स नहीं चाहिए. फ्रॉम वेयर वी गेट ए गुड कैरिकुलम, फ्रॉम वेयर वी गेट very good instructors who can transfer these technologies and replicate the things up to the community level. सबसे बड़ी प्रॉब्लम ये है हमारे साथ.
For your NGO, sir, right?
From NGO, civil society. Okay, thank you.
Okay, anybody would like to address, Garima? Yeah, you know, NSDC is definitely one of the solutions. Okay, there are programs from Government of India under NSDC umbrella, National Skill Development Corporation. Sure.
From where we get the good instructors at grassroots level?
Yeah, I think there are lots of, there is no easy solution, but I think there are lots of people who want to help. One is sector councils are very helpful. They are a PPP between Government of India and employers.
The kind of trade that you're planning.
And there are multiple sector councils. If you focus saying I want to do this, go to the sector council. Our own experiences, they are very helpful. Yeah. Can I just finish? And I think there are lots of, yeah, and there are lots of organizations which are social organizations like ours, which we say that we can only do so much. So if we have built a knowledge base on all our journey for last 26 years, we are saying anyone who comes forward and asks us, we'll be happy to share, because India is a large country and so much of work needs to be done. And I'm sure there are other collaborative partners you can reach out to. But it's there. You just have to go and tap. It's not very difficult. One point of a time, we were a grassroots NGO, and today we are the largest NGO. Just an example.
Yes. So as he stated, there are 37 sector skill councils. I know it would be difficult for you to go to all of them, but with the awarding body powers that Medhavi Skills University or such skills universities have, you can directly approach us, because we are industry agnostic. Sector skill councils are industry specific. We are industry agnostic, and we've got ties with the NCVET as well, so we can get you NCVET panel trainers for specific job roles.
Thank you, lady out there. Yes. Do you have a question?
Yeah.
Yeah, please.
Hi,
Quick.
good afternoon, panel. And I have a question that I'm Prachi. I have a question that when we talk about sustainability, we often take results from the pilots, but a lot of times when we scale, the impact numbers change. So how does it impact the decision making from the funding end, from the CSR partners?
ऐसे मैं पूरा दिन लूँगा इस सवाल के जवाब को देने के लिए, but yes, it does change. Numbers are also important. You have to track, and when you are counting your number, somebody else is also counting that number, and this is how this gets camouflaged. Fine. थोड़ी देर के लिए भूल जाते हैं numbers को. You impacted a life. You brought some changes. Sir talked about transformation. Okay, if the transformation has happened, अभी रुक जाते हैं यहीं पे. Impact वाली खेल देख लेंगे. If I have answered your question, I know I would not be able to exactly answer to be quantitatively very perfect at your end.
Thank you.
Gentlemen out there, you can speak, sir. Last question, that is.
I'm Kulvinder Singh, Managing Director at Evolves, providing mobility solutions for disability community. So my question is, like Garima ma'am talked about implementation and execution of the skill development. So the biggest challenge is either is it a implementation or is it awareness about the skill development, and what would be the best solution?
Sir, challenges everywhere, right from course curriculum that is industry relevant to mobilizing the right people to getting a skilled trainer to actually retain that trainer. There are challenges around catchment area dries up very fast, right? So how do you bring in agility in your program so that you can keep moving to different catchment areas, right? And if we specifically talk about PWDs, I think what skills we are very limited as a community and as an ecosystem, very, very limited on what kind of skills we should give to the PWD communities, right? So I think that breaking the barrier is required. And most of these programs right now tend to be residential because of this. How will they come and attend a training program for 6 hours, 4 hours? And residential then is not possible for a lot of community members. So I only give challenges, not solutions.
Just to add, sir, like a quick 30 seconds, a lot of companies are also working into this angle of supporting the Divyangs, basically. And for that, what they are doing is awareness is obviously one of the key reasons. Like for example, from our organization, we are supporting 25,000 women into women empowerment. But for that, first we are giving them financial literacy and digital education training, and then we are providing them the infrastructure. Because unless they know financial literacy, they won't be able to utilize the whole fund what we are giving in the infrastructure. So awareness is always needed.
Thank you, sir. We have a hard stop now. Sorry, you can take your questions with them offline. We have to stop here. We are envisioning Viksit Bharat 2047. तो यदि वहां तक पहुंचना है तो गवर्नमेंट के स्लोगन को एक बार फिर से सुने, सबका साथ, सबका विकास, सबका प्रयास. So this prayas is going to be important. That's effort from each of the stakeholder, which will also make this skill development journey successful. Thank you very much to all of you, my co-panelists and the organizers.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kaur. Thank you.